And when we went to vote in 2022, the outcome of that vote was that the UDA and the Kenya Kwanza won the right to govern for 5 years. And the coalition, which was then the Azimio coalition, won the right to check the government. And if you remember, at the beginning of this tenure, indeed, the Kenyans voted for more members of parliament who are in Azimio than who are in the ruling coalition. But even before the dust settled, some of them were wooed and they agreed to cross the floor, that giving the ruling coalition the majority they needed to carry out their agenda. And over the time, really, whether it is the MPs that were elected through Jubilee, they accepted against the wishes of the people to kind of look like they're in government. And in the end, it ended up weakening the opposition. It is not that ODM must be always the opposition, but they were the majority of the party in the coalition that was in the opposition, and therefore they were there to check on the government. And even now, as we speak, in spite of the fact that the luminaries of ODM entered government,
yes,
even right now, who are the leaders of the minority in the National Assembly? Now, for purposes of making sure the country move forward, because Kenya is really the beacon of hope for democracy in this region, but I would think that 2024 will go down in history as one of the years where we took a back step in terms of our democracy. And we would hope that we would learn lessons into the future.
Into the future.
Looking at the conversation that my brother is talking about, the issue is who sets the agenda. The government should set the agenda. When the Kenyans feel that they are overtaxed, and those Kenyans are those that work and have a pay slip. When you look at the pay slip and you see declining take home, that means you are being disempowered from having more money that you can spend so that cash can flow around and business can flow around. And this, by the time we were coming to 2024 finance bill, it was hot on the heels of another 2023 finance bill that Kenyans had said is not good. And therefore, by the time now, the Kenyans were saying no. And having said that, as we end the year, we have seen some of those things they said no to in terms of taxation, getting back somehow. And the Kenyans will take it. At some point, you can't keep fighting. Sometimes you take a back step, and that's what they have taken. But if the government wants the right kind of conversation, the government needs to set the tone for the right kind of conversation. We saw Adani come in. We only got to know through a whistleblower. There was no proper follow-up. We've seen very important decisions being taken and only coming out. Today, for example, now we know that the government has a good plan to make sure that our schools get LPG. We hope that as we go forward, nothing has been worked out before, that things are now going to be worked out. That way you set the tone for conversation, and you create an element where there is mutual trust. But at the moment, we go to a point where there is no mutual trust between the rulers and the ruled. And at that point, the breakdown in that communication, to reset it, it is to say the right thing. Isn't it true that we had people in government that were chest thumping? Isn't it true that we had people in government that were parading their wealth against a situation where the rest of Kenyans were feeling squeezed and squeezed? Isn't it true that some of the leaders that were removed from cabinet were really unable to explain to the people even the good that the government was doing. We would now hope that when we see ministers being invited to National Assembly